Don't give us the bird. Don't give us your stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet Rivers sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, everyone. It is Betting Weekly Live. It is Tuesday, the 15th of April, with Steve Wyss and Will White. Will, good to have you back for the Champions League action. How was your weekend? Were you dabbling in the US Masters? We know you cashed on the hole-in-one no bet. How did you do overall? Good day to you.
Good day to you, Steve, and good day to everyone out there. Yeah, what a Masters, hey? What a fantastic tournament, and fair play to Rory, the legend he is, and actually to Justin Rose as well for being such a magnanimous runner-up, I guess. But yeah, the main highlight for me was the hole-in-one no, and that pin placement on the final day on 16 really kind of got us over the line. I was sweating a little bit, especially with the Bryson tee shot, I guess. The last player to hit a tee shot into 16, and he was about 4 foot away. But yeah, if that's the biggest sweat you're going to get on hole-in-one no, then it's been a good tournament, right?
Yeah, you didn't tell us you had a hotline to the Augusta National Committee where to put the pin placement on number 16. I thought it was a bit unusual. So a lot of people moaning, actually, who had backed to the hole-in-one, that they kind of knew that their fate was sealed, really. It would have taken an incredible shot. And then the other hole positions are just shocking, aren't they, for hole-in-ones, especially the fourth hole. But yeah, welcoming everyone. Hope you had a good Masters. Hope you had a good weekend. Villa fan 20, he's looking forward to it tonight, and it's a huge game for the Villa fans. You know, win, lose or draw, this is what their season's sort of been pinnacling towards. Still involved, obviously, FA Cup as well, and Champions League qualification. But very exciting times. Good to see ZT, Diski, Duncan, Chris Graham, Ming Chung, Meslier's goalkeeping coach, who's sacked now. Nish, Paul Laguna, great to see you as well, and Adam Thompson. Jake, cannot wait for Villa Park tonight. He's got an 18-1 ticket on PSG, but he'd love us to beat this PSG side. Big Villa fan, of course, is Jake. Does anyone give Villa a chance to come back against PSG today? Do put it in chat if you are. Dan Robert, welcome in as well. Dan, are we going to get any draws this week in the Champions League? Have you got any money left to bet on the draws? That's a big question. Bill Brendan King, good to see you as well. But it's a show fully focused on the Champions League today. 2 matches. We're going to break them down in depth. Player props, best bets, analysis, everything. Just before that, some notable winners and losers yesterday, mostly on the baseball here. The Cubs money line, $15,000 against the Padres. That was a loser. Astros money line, 15 grand as well against the Cardinals. Another loser. Not great, is it, for the bettors, Will? But there was a $13,000 winner on the Rays draw no bet. First 5 innings, at minus 133. I like that bet. That feels like the sort of bet I would take if I was a baseball bettor. Nice little bit of a security blanket. There's not a lot on today, but you can watch some live streams. Salford City against Doncaster Rovers in League 2 and the WTA in Stuttgart and Rouen. We've got some house specials, which we'll tell you about soon as well. But, Champions League. Here's the state of play. This is the quarterfinal. Draw into the semi-finals. We've got Arsenal there 3-0 up against Real Madrid. PSG 3-1 up against Villa. PSG Arsenal, is that going to be a semi-final? It'd be a tasty one. Barcelona look to have 1 foot in the semi-final already. And then Bayern Munich against Inter Milan tomorrow. That's the tightest of the 4 quarterfinals so far. So that leads us into the outright futures market. We always talk about it before the start of any midweek match day, Will. And Barcelona plus 200 favourites. PSG plus 225. Dortmund, you can back them at 500 to 1 if you think they're going to achieve the miracle, turn it around and then go on to win it. Are those prices fair now, Will? Barcelona plus 200, is that how you'd have them?
Yeah, I think they're pretty fair, right? They're pretty well shaped at this point. I kind of like to kind of use them as a look ahead to how the potential semis might be priced up. I mean, we've got 2 or 3 ties that are arguably already decided, and it looks like we'll see Arsenal PSG. I mean, maybe Villa will have a say in that, but it looks like we'll see Arsenal PSG as one semi-final. And those outright prices, what they tell me is PSG are going to be favourites. And I had a strong opinion on Arsenal Real Madrid tie. I thought Arsenal should be favourites there, and I'd probably argue that Arsenal should be favourites against PSG as well. I'd be much more confident if Gabriel was fit, but he won't be. I don't want to look ahead too much, but yeah, I'd certainly be interested in Arsenal at plus money against PSG in a semi. What do you think about that?
I think it's be an interesting semi-final, and I would think PSG would probably have enough to get past them, but there's always plenty of baggage with that PSG side. We know this is the competition they want to win. But I still look at Inter and actually Bayern now at 14-1. I mean, one of them two teams will be in the semi-final, and Barcelona are good, but how good are Barcelona? Will they have shown deficiencies at times this season. That's what I will say. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant on their day, but they have had some poor games as well. So I'll be looking to oppose Barcelona in the semi-final, whoever they face.
I think I'll take the other side of that, Steve. To be honest with you, I think Barca would destroy Bayern in a semi-final. They did earlier on in the season in the league stage, I believe, despite being underdogs at home, which was quite incredible. I think, was it 4-0 Barca beat Bayern at home? I
think, to be fair, maybe, I'm not sure I would be trusting Vincent Kompany against Barcelona, actually.
Inter, though, I'd give Inter a chance. A worse matchup for Barca.
Savvy old dog, aren't they?
Yeah, much tougher to beat than this Bayern team. I think I'd be much more confident as a Barca fan or Barca backer against Bayern than I would Inter, which doesn't necessarily make sense ratings-wise, but feel-wise, I'd definitely prefer Bayern in the semi.
It's going to be interesting to see how it goes, and I think we can presume really that Dortmund's race is run. They're 4-0 down after the first leg here. Barcelona -109 just to win the second leg. They don't need to win. They can lose the game by 3 goals and qualify. I don't know whether anyone would be interested in backing them at minus money favourites here. We've got a goal line which is around about 3.5 now. Both teams to score, yes, is -250. Tons of player props as well for the game. I do like, for those who did subscribe to the newsletter, on the video there, I put up a couple of plays, a player prop, which I'll talk about a bit later. I mean, I like the first half goals here, over 1.5 goals first half at -103. I just think, Dortmund may not believe, but they've got to give it some sort of a go early, surely. Try and get the yellow wall behind them. If they could get an early goal, get them excited. At the same time, Barcelona are there to pick them off as well. I feel like if there is lower intensity, it will more likely come in the second half, potentially. Last 25, 30 minutes could be a complete petering out if the race is completely run. But first half, I do have a feeling that this may well open up. So I do like that over 1.5 first half goals at -103. The main Asian lines are difficult here. I don't really see Barcelona at minus money. Why you need to get involved in that, Will? Or the goal line at 3.5 that could look really low. It could look really high come the end of the game.
Yeah, first thing I want to say is I feel like we got really unlucky last week with Barca winning both teams to score at +130 or +133. I think Dortmund had more than enough chances to score there. They generated 1.45 xG. Guirassy and Gittins missed pretty decent chances. So I feel a bit aggrieved by that. But moving on to this game, it's probably the hardest game to price up because of the fact, as you mentioned, it's kind of essentially a dead rubber. And actually, Niko Kovac, after their Classica, was talking about how, well, it seemed like he'd subconsciously given up on this tie, and I wouldn't be surprised to see quite a bit of Dortmund rotation tonight. So we might see some interesting team news come out when the lineups are announced. The question here is, can you back a team at negative money, at minus money, in essentially a dead rubber? and I'm kind of leaning towards yes, because I don't necessarily think that Dortmund are going to be going all out here, and I think we might see some rotation. And I don't think Barca have that kind of off switch. And I think, in fact, in a game that has a bit lower intensity, at least on the Dortmund side, I think Barca might flourish in that kind of like more carefree kind of environment where they can really express themselves. But it's hard to make it an official bet. I think Barca are the best team in the competition. I've said that before. Barca are drifting at the moment, actually. They're almost even money to win the match. I think if that gets to minus a quarter, minus 120, if the market continues to buy into this idea of you can't back a team at minus money in a dead rubber, I'd definitely be interested in maybe making that an official bet. But yeah, current prices, it's just a lean on Barca to win the game. Goal line wise, I mean, most people are expecting goals, for good reason. I said in last week's show, Barca have the second highest total XG expectancy across the major European leagues at 3.53 total XG per game, which is very, very high. And theoretically, Dortmund have to really push here, which would make them very vulnerable on the counter. But I am just a bit concerned that maybe Dortmund have subconsciously given up here. And we do have a president that would support an unders play in a kind of damp squib kind of game. And that was when Dortmund faced Sporting in the knockout round. And they won 3-0 in Lisbon. And everybody was expecting a goal fest back in Dortmund. And it ended 0-0. And so, it could turn out to be that kind of game. It's harder to see it with a team like Barca. But we might see some rotation from them. But, all the stats kind of support an overs play here. But at 3.5, it's a very high line. And I couldn't get involved personally. For me, the most interesting markets here are the prop markets. And I've got quite a few I'm interested in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like this is a sort of game to stake heavily on the main markets because there is that danger. Things could peter out and flop in the second half, especially. But equally, if you are willing to take that gamble, the first half makes it interesting. Just say Dortmund were to lead at half time, then maybe I get the people's thoughts there going in on high on the overs and things like that. There is some house specials on the game from Bet Rivers. Bet Robert Lewandowski to score and Barcelona to win both the first and the second half is plus 330. At least 25 corner kicks to be taken across both matches today in the Champions League, plus 110 for those who like to bet on the over corners. And every Champions League team to score at least one goal today, plus 107. Someone put up both teams to score both matches. But there is that house special on there, effectively the same bet, plus 107. Just going through some of the comments here. Mezier's goalkeeping coach always stay clear of teams that have 1 foot in the semi-final. Duncan Evans, Barcelona, both teams to score. Ginepi thinks that Barcelona are going to want to win the game anyway. Diemi, anytime score is a huge price. And he seems popular there across the board as well. Interesting one. The money for the game, 84% of the money line money is on Barcelona. Just 51% of the money on the over-under market is on the over. So in terms of actual money, it's not clear-cut, Will, here, 50-50 split. In fact, you would argue at that it's probably more of an under preference, really, because we do tend to generally get more over money just naturally as it happens. But yeah, I mean, say main markets, it's difficult. I do like that over 1.5. I'm willing to stick on that. Just before we go into player props, the referee for the game, Maurizio Mariani, he was actually he did the PSG Villa game last week. Gave 1 card, only issued 17 fouls. There's a 3.5 card line here over that you can back at plus 125, which that is a really, really low for a second leg of a quarterfinal Champions League. Now, I get why, because the second half might be a non-event, but that is a dangling carrot, which might get me tempted, Will, because naturally in the second legs, especially for the Dortmund players where, they're not really thinking about suspension for the next round, they're thinking about next season. 3.5 card line at plus 125. I'm like, Shall I bite or not, Will? Do you think could it get feisty?
I don't know, mate. This is not a normal second leg, is it? Really? It could turn out to be a damp squib, like I said. It is a very low line, though. So, and at plus money, I might be tempted in, but it's hard to really know. Might be one for in running, actually, to see what the vibes are like.
Yes.
If Dortmund come out all cylinders firing, then just jump on the overs as it's eroding, right? Because theoretically, as time goes by, if there are no cards, you should get better odds on the overs. So maybe watch the first 5 minutes and see, hope there are no cards and jump on the over. It might even be 2.5, quarter of an hour in kind of thing. But yeah, maybe.
I looked at Ben Sabaini to be carded plus 290 for those who can get on him. He's going to have all sorts of problems potentially. Terrible matchups like Yamal there. And, it's going to be a rough night, I think, for Ben Sabaini plus 290. We were meant on yesterday's show, Lewis Jones did well on the fouls market now, which you can actually, Bet Rivers have fouls markets on the big games. And Adeyemi over 1.5 fouls, close to evens, look quite a big price. 3 fouls in the first leg. He's like a bull in the china shop, isn't he? Pressing and giving away stupid free kicks. And so I did look at him. What about your best player props for this game then, Will?
I've got 2. I've got 2/3. It's Fermin Lopez, our man Fermin Lopez again. He's plus 120 to have over 0.5 shots on target, which is outrageous given he was minus 129 last week and he had 2 hit the post, created an assist, and was arguably the best player on the pitch. The problem is I don't actually think he's going to start. I think Gabby might play in his role, but it's a bit of a shot to nothing because we got our stakes refunded if he doesn't start the match. But if he does, we're on what I think is a fantastic bet. It's a limited sample size of 3.690s in this season's Champions League for Fermin, but 1.95 shots on target per 90 is his average, which is outrageous. Barca averaged the 3rd most shots on target per 90 in the competition. Dortmund to missing Schlotterbeck, and basically can see Barca having quite a few shots. But annoyingly, he probably won't start. So moving on to somebody that probably will start, it's Yamin Lamal to have a goal or assist minus 106, which I think that's way too tempting for who I think is probably the most exciting player in world football right now. Given the high goal line, we should be looking at players to score or assist, and minus 106 on Lamine, who's had 9 goals or assists in 10 Champions League matches this season, is just way too big. So a bit of a shot to nothing. Fermin Lopez to have a shot on target at plus 120, and then the main play, Lamine Yamal, goal or assist, minus 106. Those are the props that I like the most.
Yeah, the player prop that I gave out on the newsletter was a Dortmund player, and it is for Jamie Bino Gittins to have a shot on target, minus 106 now. He was actually plus money when I advised this. You mentioned him last week. He probably should have scored, really, Will. And we know that Dortmund are going to be playing the game on the counter-attack still, even though they're at home. And this guy can get in behind. He can cause problems. And, we've seen him take he tends to do a lot of solo runs and then tries to shoot himself. I'm not calling him a selfish player, but he will like to have a crack at goal when he can. And I think, he got that shot on target last week. I think he can get a shot on target again. Jamie Bino Gittins. I think he's actually just known as Jamie Gittins now, isn't he? But on the Bet Rivers website, he still goes by his former name, former double-barreled name. So that would be the player prop I like. I mean, for those who think Dortmund are going to be competitive here, there's other options. Guirassy, I wouldn't take him to score because his goal scoring's gone off, but over 1.5 shots on target could be considered at plus 148. Quite a few were mentioning Adeyemi in the to score or assist market, or just to score. He's minus 115 just to have a shot on target or more. Look at him in the fouls market as well. Like I said, Karim Adeyemi could be a player worth keeping an eye out in a lot of markets here, Will, potentially.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer Adeyemi to Gittins purely because I don't think Gittins is going to start. I think Adeyemi will start. I've kind of been having a look at some of the rumours around the Dortmund lineup, and it looks like there will be some rotation. Just most people seem to be saying that Gittins won't get the start, but Adeyemi will. So we'll see what the lineups bring. That's another key point, actually, is I think in a game like this, a semi-dead rubber, you might see some interesting team news. So maybe wait until the teams come out before you make your plays.
It is a very good point, and there's uncertainty how this match will unfold. Could go either way. Good luck, whatever you are going to take here. A few people say no cards. I mean, yeah, if it went that way as well, it wouldn't be the biggest shock. If you got 0-0 half time, no cards at half time, it may well end that way. It could. So, this second game is possibly the more interesting one in terms of, a betting conundrum. It's closer for a start. PSG a 3-1 lead. They take to Villa Park with them. The plus money to win the second leg. They won at Anfield, of course. Let's not forget that in the second leg. Although they needed to on that instance, they don't need to this time. Aston Villa plus 225 to win on the night. 9-1 to qualify for the semi-finals of the Champions League. Goal line here, generally around the 3 Asian mark, or 3.25 if you want plus money, plus 133 if you want over 3.5 goals. Loads of player props as always. Got house specials. 9-1 on Villa to qualify. Will, do you give them a chance?
I think I give them about a 9-1 chance. It's a real tough ask. I think we all know the talent that this PSG team has, but I think what scares me the most is just the discipline and consistency that Luis Enrique is getting out of them from such a young group. They've now won 26 of the last 28, and they really should be 8 out of 8 in the last 8 in the Champions League. That Liverpool home leg in Paris, they deserve to win that game, no questions asked, really. So they're a very, very scary team to take on at the moment. And if Villa do manage to get this done, it will be an absolutely incredible achievement. My ratings model is flagging up that value on Villa plus a quarter here on the main Asian line, but it's a scary proposition. Villa do have quite a good home record this season and a really good one in the Champions League. 4 wins, 1 draw actually at home in Champions League this season, including a win versus Bayern and a draw versus Juve. However, if you look at domestic underlying stats, Villa's XG supremacy per 90 in the Premier League is plus 0.07 goals, and PSG's is plus 1.72. So, it's night and day. You've got to take that in the context of Ligue 1 being significantly weaker than the Premier League, obviously. But still, game state is a big consideration here as well. It's likely that we might see PSG sit back and look to hit Villa on the break, which might actually suit them. And I don't think PSG have an off switch. I don't think they have a low intensity in Champions League mode. But yeah, I've got to respect my ratings model and lean Villa plus a quarter, but it won't be an official play. And we've also got to remember that Villa were plus 3/4 of a goal at home to Bayern in the league stage and plus half a goal at home to Liverpool in the league in February. And if you use those as kind of benchmarks, then PSG minus a quarter might look quite attractive. Then the other kind of dimension here, I'm not sure how relevant it is, but Emery in his post-match Southampton comments was basically saying how Villa's best potential chance at qualification, Champions League qualification next season was through the league. Look, I mean, there's no way that that's going to filter into anything conscious, but maybe subconsciously they kind of think that this is a bit too much. And, if they haven't made any inroads in the first half, PSG might start to dominate and potentially nick the win. It's a tough one on the main Asian line, Steve. That's all I've really got, and it's kind of a bit of a battle between my ratings model that's telling me that Villa should be an auto bet here, and really what I think, which is PSG are just really tough to oppose.
This is another match I like the first half goals. And the Asian line is 1.25 for the over at -124. Again, I just feel that teams, look, I think Aston Villa will come out, in some sort of way which has got to be quite aggressive, whether that means, scoring goals, hopefully from their perspective. But then they're not just going to, I don't think they're just going to wait for the second half. They've got to get something in the first half. And again, PSG, someone just said in the chat there, don't think they're going to change their tactics. Giuseppe says that. They are quite predictable, really, PSG, for the way they play. Villa are more adaptable with Emery at the helm. And, just secondly, I'm not even using stats really to base these first half goal bets on. I'm based on the situation. You can't just say, 8 of the last 10 first half games for Villa have gone over 1.5. It's not the same. It's the second leg of the Champions League. But I think I don't see 0-0 at the interval. Well, I just don't. I think someone will score a goal, whether it be Villa or PSG. And in that case, the 1.25 Asian line first half just makes a ton of sense to me. Again, a bit similar to the Dortmund game, player props and other match props do make perhaps a bit more sense. On the main Asian lines, to be honest, I don't know, actually, no clue which way I'd go. I don't know if this is going to be, it's basically you've got to decide, are Villa going to avoid defeat on the night? And I am not sure. Gun to my head, I'll go Villa because you get the draw on your side as well. But I really wouldn't be comfortable placing too much there. The main Asian goal line over 3 total would be I would go over rather than under. Villa have got to score twice, whatever, otherwise they're out. Don't really see 2-0 as a score here. So, I would, the main overall Asian goal line, I would go in that territory. What would you look at? Do you think that's a fair Asian total for 3 for the 90 minutes?
I think it's a little bit low. I lean over, although money has been coming for the over. The line yesterday was 2.75, which really was... I was ready to pull the trigger there at 2.75 on today's live show, but unfortunately at 3 now. I don't really understand how it's still at 3. It's quarter of a goal lower than the first leg. The first leg was 3.25, obviously went over. And now we've got a 3 line. And I think that's purely because the main Asian handicap line has the teams closer than the first leg, obviously with home advantage switching. But I like your bet, Steve. I like that first half over 1.25. So even if there's only 1 goal, you get half your stake refunded. And I think 2 goals is far more likely than none. It feels like to me that the game state might set up for a high scoring game here. If Villa really want this subconsciously as well as consciously, and it's a weird thing to say, but definitely prefer the over to the under.
Jake Alvarez says, if Ming start, we will defend much better. Torres is a better footballer, but not a defender, just a word for goals, which is an interesting one. Keep your eye up on the lineups there. Marquinhos, of course, coming back for PSG tonight after suspension, probably going to come in for Beraldo. But otherwise, both teams pretty healthy, actually. Bailey might come back on the bench for Villa potentially this evening, but he won't be starting. Incredible stat from last week. Vitinha had 148 passes. Apparently, it was the second most in a Champions League knockout game since the most was Xavi, 161 versus Chelsea in 2012. I think that might have been the final, actually. Was that the final that Chelsea fluked the win on? Can't remember, but anyway, that's an incredible pass rate. 76% possession last week. 9-1 on corners was the PSG's advantage. 29-7 on shots. 10-2 shots on target. It won't be as extreme this week, but PSG are probably going to win all the metrics in that capacity again.
Steve, just regarding corners, I did have a look at corners because I was hoping we'd see Villa as dogs on the corners line, given the 9-1 domination from PSG last week. But actually, they're very slight favourites, which is annoying because I kind of wanted to back them. Just because I think they will have most of the pressure here and they will be kind of like pressing harder than PSG will. Obviously, you've got the danger of the PSG counters, but yeah, it was an interesting line set by the Bet Rivers traders. I think they've been quite shrewd there, making Villa slight favourites. They've certainly put me off.
Joe Bamber says Garassi and Watkins shot on target at evens. He reckons that play would cash 7 out of 10 times. I mean, keep an eye on that Villa lineup. A few saying that Watkins deserved to start this one. But I'm not sure who will be in that 11 for Villa myself. 79% of the money on the money line is on PSG. 82% of the tickets as well. 60% of the money on the over-under market is on the under. I mean, this might not be as accurate now. This was sent about an hour and a half ago, but there was money for the under. Certainly with Bet Rivers anyway. Interesting stat from producer Troy gave me earlier. The away team has won each of PSG's last 6 UCL Tuesday knockout matches. That's a good one. That's a really good one. So if that continues, then get on PSG. The referee, someone's asked me about the referee, and his name is Jose Maria Sanchez. A Spanish referee has been wielded out here. He averages nearly 5.5 cards per game in La Liga and nearly 0.63 penalties per game in La Liga as well. However, in the Champions League, 3.34 cards per game, just 19 fouls per game as opposed to 26 in La Liga. So this referee referees differently in the Champions League, basically, compared to La Liga. That said, the cards again interest me here, Will. Over 4.5 cards is plus money. There's only 2 players that are at risk of suspension. That is Luca Digne and Ruiz for PSG. Everyone else has a free pass here, a yellow card, which that to me means that people are going to get stuck in. It doesn't really matter. You can take a yellow for the team here. 2 players that really interest me. John McGinn for Villa, plus 335. He could get a booking just by talking to the ref or some sort of dissent. And Matty Cash mightily struggled in the first leg. 4 fouls. He was in the book. He's plus 300 to be carded. He's going to have the Villa fullbacks are going to be in for a terrifying night again.
I really like those plays, Steve. Yeah. Especially if you think about PSG in transition, you've got to do something to stop them. And it might be the old tactical foul. And McGinn and Cash, yeah. Those 2 names you mentioned at big prices. Yeah, it'd be good. We might get on the double there.
And I mean, what about player props here for you? Anything catch your eye for this game?
Yeah, as usual, there's some pretty tasty ones. Going back to the well with our boys. Desiree Doué, we backed him last week to have a shot on target. He did. I think he had 4.
3 or 4, wasn't it?
Yeah. And we backed him to score or assist as well at big plus money, and he scored a wonder goal. So, like with Firmin, it's the same narrative. I don't think Doué is going to start here. I think they'll probably play Barcola instead, given his kind of pace on the break, which would be frustrating. But again, it's a bit of a free roll on him starting here, because if he does start, the price is outrageous. He's a similar price to what he was last week. Given the performance last week, you would have thought that the markets would adjust, but they haven't. He's now averaging 2.01 shots on target per 90 in the Champions League this season, which is absolutely massive. And then score assist plus 180, a bigger price than last week. And I think that's also bettable, with the caveat, I don't actually think he'll start. But, worst case scenario there, we get our stake refunded. And then the other one that catches the eye is Marcus Rashford. Anytime goal scorers plus 290. I think this PSG defense is vulnerable, even with Marquinhos back. And I think Rashford basically is the most likely to score for Villa, even though it was Rodgers, I think, scored last week. I think Rodgers is a similar price. I just think Rashford's slightly more of a goal threat. And then the corners thing, we talked about it already. I wanted to back Villa. I was hoping they'd be underdogs, but they're not. So probably leave that alone at current prices and focus on Desiree Doué. An absolutely electric talent. He's unbelievable player already. Really, really just great to watch. This PSG team as a whole is great to watch, right? And Doué is certainly becoming one of their centerpieces. So yeah, Doué, shot on target, minus 130, score assist, plus 180. And then a bit of pizza money on Rashford, anytime goal scorer, plus 290. Very big price there, I think.
Yeah, I'm already getting just a better feeling and vibe about betting on this game in general, Will. This feels like there's more potential. The match is probably more likely to mean something heading into the last 10 minutes. And even if sort of the race is run, it could still get a little bit spicy. You know, players getting wound up, things like that. Where was there was a good comment here? Yeah, I mean, the Villa fans agree with me on Matty Cash. That is a big, I mean, it seems like it's going to be a very popular bet now. Plus 300 to be carded. Just look, red card, yes, is plus 430 in this game. That might be a little bit of a one to look at, maybe, especially with the Spanish ref in the middle, although he does referee games a little bit differently in Europe, like I said. Another stat from producer Troy here. Ousmane Dembele has recorded at least 4 shot attempts in 9 of PSG's last 11 Champions League games. Over 3.5 Dembele shots is minus 113 for those who are interested in just backing his shots. He does like a shot, doesn't he? For sure. Digne for a yellow as well, maybe for Jack. Yeah, you like that one, Will?
I mean, it's a high line, isn't it? It's a very high line. But the stats suggest it's a decent bet. Not sure it's for me, though, at such a high line.
The danger is, will he last 90 minutes? I mean, just say PSG rock up, do a job on him first half, 3-0. They'll probably pull him after 65.
Maybe.
You might not get your shots. So, but yeah, I mean, if he does play the full 90 minutes, he probably will. Probably will just about get 4 shots in there. But then you might as well look at maybe shots on target, even to score or assist sort of territory. But yes, I think I went through the stats. That's it for today. It feels like a short show, but it is because there's only 2 matches to consider. About 90 minutes time, just under 90 minutes time, Betting Weekly Tennis Live will be on. And we've got Mitch Michaels with Dustin Fox in the house today. So we look forward to that. And also tomorrow, Tennis Live as well. Shakespeare's here. The Boston Red Sox to make the playoffs, no. At minus 105, another Shakespeare money back guarantee. He's nailed it with them Padres. He gave the Padres out to make the playoffs, and they started really, really well. But Shakespeare, good to see you back on. And there you go. Not to make the playoffs. Minus 105. Will, what's your best bet of the night?
Look, I'd like to go back to the Fermin Lopez, but because I don't think he's actually going to start, it would be ridiculous for me to say it's my best bet. Probably would go Lamine Yamal to score or assist at minus 106.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be that first half goal line in the Villa game. Over 1.25 Asian goals. I feel there is a decent security blanket there. Myself, but best of luck whatever you are taking today. Remember to follow us on the socials, Instagram as well. Nigel was on fire last week there with the tennis, 10 winners in a row, unbelievable stuff. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live with Nigel, going through the second legs in Madrid and also in Milan. There's a Premier League game as well, Newcastle against Crystal Palace. But Will, it was a pleasure, as always, to have your input on the Champions League. Go well this evening.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, Steve. One thing I'd like to ask everyone to do, if they haven't already, is subscribe to the channel. It's the way you can thank us for providing you with this free content. And make sure you like the video as well on YouTube if you're watching. So, yeah, been an absolute pleasure, Steve. Good luck tonight to everyone out there. And let's look forward to some tasty semi-finals in the making.
Yes, thank you very much, Will. We'll see you next time on Betting Weekly Live. Remember to gamble responsibly, take care, and cash those winning tickets today.